tell you a story. This is true. I'm not going to use any names, but I was away and I came back and she told me she had been raped, but she handled the situation of the rape in the most extraordinary way. But my immediate reaction was, I asked, did she know who it was? No. What colour were they? She said it was a black person. I went up and down areas with a cosh, hoping I'd be approached by somebody. I'm ashamed to say that. And I did it for maybe a week, hoping some black would come out of a pub and have a go at me about something, you know, so that I could kill him. And it took me a week, maybe a week and a half to kind of go over that. And she said to me, where are you going? I said, I'm just going out for a walk, you know. She said, what's wrong? No, nothing's wrong, fine. And it was horrible when I think back, but I did that. And I've never admitted that to, and I'm saying it to a journalist, God forbid. It's awful. But I did learn a lesson from it when I eventually thought, you know. And I come from a society, I grew up in Northern Ireland in the Troubles, and I knew a couple of guys that died on hunger strike, and I had acquaintances that were very caught up in the Troubles. And I understand that need for revenge, but it just leads to more revenge and more killing and more killing. And, you know, Northern Ireland's proof of that, you know. All the stuff that's happening in the world at the minute, the violence is proof of that, you know. So it's, but that's, yeah, primal need, I understand, you know.
You can relate to that.
We were doing a press junket, and it was, you know, the topic of our film is revenge, and it's a dark comedy too, but its base is revenge. And the lady journalist was asking me, how do you tap into that? And I remembered an incident nearly 40 years ago where a very dear friend of mine was brutally raped. And I was out of the country, and when I came back, she told me about this. And she handled the situation herself and her rapist incredibly bravely, I have to say that. But I had never felt this feeling before, which was a primal urge to lash out. I asked her, did you know the person? It was a man. No. His race? She said he was a black man. I thought, okay. And after that, there were some nights I went out deliberately into black areas in this city, looking to be set upon so that I could unleash physical violence. And I did it for, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 times, until I caught myself on. And it really shocked me, this primal urge I had. It shocked me and it hurt me. I did seek help. I went to a priest, I heard my confession, I was reared a Catholic. I had 2 very, very good friends that I talked to. And believe it or not, power walking.
Power walking.
Yeah, 2 hours every day.
You can
to get rid of this. And I'm not racist. This was nearly 40 years ago, but I was brought up in the north of Ireland and brought up in the Troubles, the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. There was a war going on in the north of Ireland. And I had acquaintances who were involved in the Troubles. The bigotry, one Catholic would be killed. The next day, a Protestant would be killed. One Catholic pub would be bombed. a Protestant pub would be bombed. I grew up surrounded by that, but I was never part of it.
I appreciate your willingness to discuss it and to explain, to put it into context. And I know that you have heard from people, or the reaction from people.
Sure.
And one response is the fact that when asking your friend, and I'm glad that she's okay.
She passed away, by the way.
Oh, I'm very sorry for your loss. Yeah. That you asked about color, that you didn't ask if the person was tall or short, big or small. That
I did actually. I asked all those questions too. I did. But I did ask about race, yeah.
Because what we heard and saw, it was only asking about color. You did ask about other aspects. Would you have had the same reaction if your friend had said it was a white man? Would you want her to go out and kill?
She'd have said an Irish, or a Scot, or a Brit, or a Lithuanian. I know I would have had the same effect. I was trying to show honour to stand up for my dear friend in this terrible medieval fashion. And I'm a fairly intelligent guy, and that's why it kind of shocked me when I came down to earth after having these horrible feelings. Luckily, no violence occurred, ever. Thanks be to God.
Do you think you actually would have done it if an innocent black man who had nothing to do?
Yeah, I know. That was my feeling. That I did want to lash out, yes. Because my friend was brutally raped, and I thought I was defending her honour. And I admit that, and it's a learning curve, and it's.
So what is a teachable moment here? You said that you wanted to, because it doesn't matter what you say. Some people are going to be outraged, or others are going to say, well, at least he's admitting, he's being honest that this is a feeling that some people have that never really acknowledge it.
Yeah, sure.
But what is the teachable? What are you hoping that people will learn from you making these statements?
To talk, to open up, to talk about these things, you know. We all pretend we're all kind of, politically correct. I mean, in this country, it's the same in my own country too. You sometimes just scratch the surface and you discover this racism and bigotry, and it's there. I remember when we were shooting Schindler's List in Poland 26 years ago almost, and hearing remarks from drivers who were taking us to the set, thinking to myself, am I hearing this right? This guy is making anti-Jewish comments to me, who's playing Oscar Schindler in the back of the car. And it happened on several times, and sometimes driving to the set we'd see swastika signs painted on walls, knowing we were being driven past this area to go to set.
What do we do? How do we have it goes beyond dialogue, Robin, and conversation?
You tell me what the teachable moment is, please. I'm going to throw it back at you.
I think the teachable moment is that we have to own up to when the one point that I want to make out is that this wasn't discovered by somebody. You admitted this. Yes. This isn't a gotcha. This isn't like, oh. Yes. So I give you credit there. But also having to acknowledge that the hurt, even though it happened decades ago, the hurt of an innocent black man knowing that he could have been killed for something he did not do because of the color of his skin.
No. Or people, and they could have killed me too. at the time.
Right.
At the time.
But to get beyond it being a difficult conversation and understanding that we do need to get to the root of it, to stop just talking about it and not. I know that you're getting crucified in many ways before saying what you did.
Sure.
And you're not shying away. You're admitting that it was wrong. You've learned from that. But you have to also understand the pain of a black person hearing what you said.
Absolutely. That. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And at the time, even though it was nearly 40 years ago, I didn't think about that. All those things surprised me. But it was this primal hatred, I guess, that really, really shocked me when I eventually came down to earth and saw what I was doing, going out looking for a fight.
Not the way. That's never. And that's what basis of your movie too. That just it goes on and on. And I wish we had time.
Violence breeds violence. Bigotry breeds bigotry. I just feel as we need to be honest. I grew up in a society where there was a lot of bigotry in the north of Ireland between Protestants and Catholics. And I was so sick of it. So when I encountered it myself, I just needed to be honest. I just feel we have to have, rather than backtracking, saying, oh, I didn't say that, I didn't mean that.
What do you take away from it? What do you learn from it?
The need for dialogue, genuine dialogue between here and here, and between here and here and here, and here and here.
And
I believe that Liam Neeson deserves a medal, and I'll tell you why. Liam Neeson, I've listened to the whole transcript. Liam Neeson was talking about his film Revenge, and he's talking about revenge doesn't do anyone any good. He mentions the fact that being brought up in Northern Ireland, he understands how destructive that can be. He went on to tell a story of a situation whereby a friend of his had been raped. Now, if you listen to everything he's talking about in the moment. And you can't blame Liam Neeson for thinking what he feels, because this is what, and this is a while ago, this is what society has shown him that black people do, Muslims do. This is what society has wrongly shown him. This is what the media have wrongly portrayed to him. So in that moment, he said for a week, he was going around looking to kill a black person or a black, and he did that in quotation marks. Now, what he actually went on to say is that he was ashamed and horrified by the way he felt. Yes? He's not ashamed and horrified in wanting to commit the act of revenge. He's ashamed and horrified because that is what he thought about all black people. After a week, he realized he was wrong. That is what he said. I'm ashamed and horrified of the way I felt. Now, depending on how you want to spin this story, no, it's been spun. It's been spun, because if you want to think about what he's actually saying, the context, which is why he then said to the lady, in his voice, I've got a particular set of skills if you don't report this in the way that it is meant. Now we're talking about, and he threatened to kill the woman. What he's actually saying is that he's horrified and ashamed of the way he felt. He went on to say that. That is exactly what he went on to say, which meant that he was ashamed of the way he felt, but you cannot blame him for thinking that. You cannot blame people for thinking Muslims, because of Muslim grooming gangs, Jamaican yardie gangs, then look at Muslims and Jamaicans in a negative light. And he's admitting that that is the way he viewed it. So for this one black person who raped this woman, he then looked at it from the perspective of all black people are racists. Now what he's actually saying is that this is what I thought, this is what I saw, and I am ashamed and horrified, and after a week I said to myself, what am I doing? That is the reality behind it. As much as people are now jumping on this bandwagon of how terrible it is, what he's done, he's come out and he's told the truth. Now, the big problem we have is when people are afraid to admit the way they actually feel, everybody's now going to say, oh, if he had said, I have more respect for him now than had he come out and said, I've viewed all black people as equal, I just view everybody as equal. What he said was, for a week, because of the stress I was under when my friend was raped by a black person, and because of what the narrative around black people and Muslims, and this is many years ago, surrounding the perception we have of them, I then wanted to kill every black person because, as far as I'm concerned, as I was taught, black people are racist. He said he was horrified and ashamed for thinking that, but that is not the story we're telling. We now want him to be pilloried. We want to never let him work again. People are now going to be afraid to tell the truth on how they feel. And I always say, we are all unconscious racists. And he said unconsciously for a week and a half, that's how he felt. We have people who've been doing it and keeping it quiet for 20 years, but as long as you don't admit it, then we think everything is okay. Now, the big problem we have is this witch hunt is now going to stop the process of people now, as in Rwanda, keep talking about a truth and reconciliation. Let's hold our hands up and say, I'm unconsciously racist. Don't blame me. This is what I've been wrongly told, which is what he's been said. And he's ashamed and embarrassed by it. So why is he being pilloried for it? So let's take down the statue of Winston Churchill, who is a white supremacist and a mass murderer. So what's the difference? How is William Churchill a hero when he spoke about, he believes in gassing the lesser races, but he's a hero? And when Liam Neeson comes out and he admits that he was wrong in what he did, whereas Winston Churchill would never admit he was wrong, never, and he still, if he was alive now, he would still believe in the superiority of the Aryan race. But Liam Neeson, someone who admits that after a week and a half of thinking what he thought, he was wrong, which is fine as far as I'm concerned, we're now pillaring him.
As a sideline to this, we are talking about the film. So there's some global publicity that's been generated. You get the sense from listening to what he's saying, it's almost a stream of consciousness. He's been led to a place he didn't particularly plan on going to. But that's just my instinct.
That's not from Liam Neeson's point of view.
But the effect is to have publicity for the film.
Point of view. People are talking about Liam Neeson never working again. You think he's done this because he wants to promote a film? Absolutely not. We're now talking about Liam Neeson never working again, boycotting his films, and in terms of what the perception people are going to have of him, and you think he did this on purpose? Absolutely not. Not from his perspective, maybe from the perspective of the filmmakers or that interview, the woman who gave that interview. And then to suggest, as I saw on television, the fact that when he gave his joke about, I've got a particular set of skills and I will find you, and we're having people, sensible, intelligent people now saying, oh, I really believe that he threatened to kill her and that's supposed to be taken seriously. This is the influence that the media has in, if they want a particular perception, and this is what has been done to black people for hundreds of years, the perception we may have of a particular group of people, and the perception we now have of Liam Neeson based on something, from my perspective, it's positive. And he should be applauded for saying, yes, I was an unconscious racist, and after a week I realized and I was horrified that I was. And people are going to be afraid of admitting it now because of what's happened to Liam Neeson.